Myers and Bernstein.
Hey, welcome to our show. Honored today, Mark Shunock, staple around town. But I need to ask you, okay, because I know you're Canadian. And what is it with the ook things in Canada?
Yeah, I don't know.
The Canucks, the Shunocks.
Yeah, it's
what
funny because when I first started performing and I'd walk into an audition room, my last name would always get butchered. They'd be like, "How do you say your last name?" And I'd just say to them, "I'm Shunock the Canuck." So that was it was an icebreaker. My mom is 100% Lebanese. My dad is Italian and Ukrainian, so his mom was Italian. Shunock was originally Shevkenik, this long Ukrainian spelling. And when my grandparents and great-grandparents migrated to Canada, they shrunk it down. No joke, there's a height joke there somewhere, but I'm Shunock the Canuck. Wouldn't change it for the world, though. I love my family, love my mom and dad, and it's funny because people ask all the time, they're like, "Where'd you get that last name?" And I said, somebody, when they came over on a boat, changed it, and it stuck.
Well, you were referring to the height thing because you're not 6'4".
I'm definitely not 6'4".
But as a hockey player, because you grew up playing hockey, right? At one time, were pretty serious about it.
Always. I think every Canadian is born with skates on. I grew up in a small town called Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. About 80,000 people, 75,000 people. So not so small, but very isolated. It's 5 hours north of Detroit, Michigan, right on Lake Superior, and grew up with skates on. Like every other young Canadian, you want to play hockey. I played as long as I could. I was a goaltender in the Canadian Hockey League for a brief stint with a team called the Belleville Bulls. Doesn't exist anymore. My father's been involved in the sport for years now. He's a dentist by trade, and the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds, which is our junior team in my hometown, he purchased and acquired from Phil and Tony Esposito in the late 80s.
No way.
Because they were going to move it. They were going to move the franchise to Michigan.
Did you meet them?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And the team has sort of, been a part of our family forever. He has a small piece now, not involved at all on the day-to-day,
right.
But it's such a part of our community. It's a steel mill and a hockey team. And he was pretty adamant when they were going to move the team back in the 80s. He was like, "Look, you can't take this team out of our city, so what can we do?" And he matched the offer with some local business guys, and the city helped in, and the community helped in, and it's been there ever since.
So I assume some point in time you realized that you probably weren't going to become a professional NHL hockey player.
Yeah.
So you changed careers.
Yeah, that's a tough time. I remember the call. I was living away from home at the time. I was probably 17, 18 years old, and I was a third string goalie. And there were definitely places where I could have gone to play. You go play overseas. You play in the American Hockey League or the ECHL, different leagues, and it just wasn't in the cards for me. I don't think at that time I was too young to understand or comprehend the drive and the passion needed to continue on down that path. And so I came home, finished high school, finished school, and I moved to New York City. I said, I'm going to try and be an actor. And I really just engulfed myself and surrounded myself with the best in the theater world in New York. And, just got lucky, got very lucky.
And I should just interrupt here, because we're in this space.
Yeah.
And I'll come back to your acting career in a minute. But we're at the space. The space is a venue that Mark has created. Also, part of what is created in the space is something called Monday's Dark, where and he'll be talking about that for sure the rest of this interview.
But
because there's a lot going on behind me, maybe not right now, but there will be throughout the week, multiple times throughout the week. You have shows, but we'll come back to that. So, all right, so you go to New York. Decided you want to be an actor. Did you have skills? Did you have lessons? How did that work?
Yeah, my mom and dad sent me to piano lessons and singing lessons as a kid. So even during my hockey days, I was the goofy goalie at the end of the ice, singing in the crease and making weird noises, fans going, "What the hell's that guy doing?" So I knew I had the bug, and I did a lot of community theater when I had the time, when my hockey days were kind of over, and I had the bug. And so I moved to New York. And
now, what was that like? Here you are, you're coming from this small town in Canada.
Yeah.
Right? You're traveling over to New York. Were you by yourself?
Yeah, my parents dropped me off. It was tough. I'm the youngest of 5, so they had a tough time with it. But they, beautiful mom and dad, man. They supported me and said, "All right, you want to do this? Let's go. Let's give it a whirl." I auditioned for Juilliard.
We never do that with my kids.
it's-
Never,
yeah,
never,
yeah.
never.
They won't watch this episode. Just tell them they're not allowed to watch this episode. So I auditioned for Juilliard, NYU, and a small conservatory called the American Academy of Dramatic Arts.
Right.
And it's a theater program, oldest in the country in the English-speaking language. I got in, 3-year program, studied with some of the best teachers on the planet, took classes outside of school. One of the funny things, it's not so funny when I think about it, but they didn't have a residence opportunity. So it was just this old building in Manhattan, and they didn't have a place where the students could live.
Dormitories.
So, yeah, they didn't have dorms. So you had to find your own lodging, and they had arrangements with other places. For the first year and a half I was in New York City, I lived at the 92nd Street Y, which is known as the De Hirsch Residence. And it's this incredible place. I lived upstairs on the 80th floor or 70th floor.
Near Harlem, right?
Yeah, it's on 92nd Street. And the programming there was incredible. Like, they'd have all sorts of actors and writers and directors giving lectures and workshops at the Y. And as a resident of the Y, I could come down at 8 o'clock, right when the curtain would start, and get free tickets. So I would be in there almost 2-3 nights a week after school, listening to these incredible New Yorkers just give lectures and talks. So I was immediately immersed into the cultural scene of theater in New York City because of the little residence that I was kind of forced to live into. Right. And then, you outgrow and you're like, hey, I'm getting an apartment, you get with friends, you get a place. I lived in New York City for about 9 years, almost a full decade. And I just got very lucky. I worked very hard to make sure I was in front of the right people, auditioned at the right time. And, you got to convince people that you're good enough to do the job. And in New York on Broadway, you got to convince people that you can sing 8 shows a week, or you can dance, or do whatever you need to do.
And you took dancing lessons?
I took it all.
Singing lessons?
Everything.
And acting lessons?
Everything. Yeah, everything. Can't dance to save my life. I'm just going to tell you right now, there's no dancing going on over here. But I got lucky. I booked The Lion King. That was the first big gig. I played Timon, so I was singing Hakuna Matata 8 shows a week, and I toured the country with that show, and that was my first sort of big break in theater. I was working consistently off Broadway and regionally in Connecticut or Massachusetts, but the first big show to give me a shot was The Lion King, and sort of we were off to the races at that point. Moved to Los Angeles, did some work there, and then Rock of Ages. The Broadway musical Rock of Ages is what brought me to Vegas.
And how did that develop? You were living in LA at the time.
Yeah.
They were going to create a new show in Vegas.
Venetian.
It was Venetian, right?
Yep.
At the Venetian. Yeah.
So after I left the tour, you decide you're going to go back to New York, you're going to go to LA. I wanted to go to LA. My girlfriend at the time, who's now my wife, was living there. So, I wanted to be in California. Mm-hmm. I had just spent a big chunk of time touring on the road full time, because when you're on the road touring, you don't get off the road, you're on the road. And, Rock of Ages called and said, we're going to do a sit-down production at the Venetian. You want to do it? And I said, I'd love to. And I said, I'll do 6 months. I've been in Vegas 10 years. I love it. Love Las Vegas. And Rock of Ages is a
and
show.
You were like an MC?
Yeah, I was the MC. I played Lonnie. I had a mullet,
Right.
nunchucks. And we're singing 80s, legendary 80s hits. Journey, Styx, REO Speedwagon, Foreigner. Like, how do you not want to do that show? And, that saying, if you love what you do, you don't work a day in your life. That show is a testament to never working a day in your life. Now, mind you, we were busting our butts doing 8 shows a week. But when you see the reaction of the crowd, and it's just this big 80s party, I loved going to the Venetian every day. I missed that show, and changed my life, because here I am in Vegas doing all sorts of things.
And did you think at that time, being the MC of that show, that you would have a career?
I knew you were going there.
And this is American Idol maybe next, right?
Who knows? No American Idol. It's funny because I was doing Rock of Ages, and Mr. Foley, the owner of the Golden Knights, announced publicly that he wanted to bring a team to Las Vegas. And, now that you know my background a little bit, I literally picked up the phone and called Fidelity Financial and said, my name is Mark. I'm an entertainer in town. How can I help? And the guy on the other line, Todd Pollock, who I know you know,
right.
He goes, are you Mark from Rock of Ages? That was his answer.
Yeah.
And I said, how do you know? He's like, I go to your show all the time, dude. It's so great. He goes, well, what do you want to do? I said, well, I'm from Canada, played hockey. How can I help you? And joined that founding 75 group, where it was just our job to call people and say, give me a season ticket deposit for a team that doesn't exist.
Right.
Because we need a pro team here. And then once everything passed and they got the team and front office was hired, they knew about my entertainment background. Johnny Greco, who was the head of entertainment for the team, called me and he said, hey, come meet with me. I'd love for you to be one of our hosts. Kid in a candy store. Like full circle, right? Kid from Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, spent 20 years up and down as an actor, come to Vegas with a rock and roll show. We get a pro hockey team and they're like, we want you to be our host. I'm like, 100% I'm in. You don't have to pay me. I'll do it for nothing. You didn't hear me say that in Vegas Golden Knights. But I love it.
Right.
Love it.
Who's ready to get loud up in here? Oh, there's no place I'd rather be than right here with all y'all. Vegas, get up on... Did you just grab my bum? You're allowed. Get up on your feet!
But do they pay you more now than when they did 5 years ago?
A little bit, yeah. a little bit.
And then you subsequently you negotiated with the with the Raiders to do a similar kind of emceeing job, right? So now you knew your value, right?
Yep.
A little bit of a tougher negotiation.
Yeah, it's a little tougher negotiating. I got a great agent now too on the sports side, which is great. But the Golden Knights will always hold a place in my heart that is, I think, beyond any other job that I could possess, and it's simply because of the passion that I have for the game of hockey, knowing what it not only means to me but to my family. Like I really walk into that building every night like you do, and know how special that environment is for people who really love the game. And I can't help but think of my folks, watching back home, and they come out to Vegas all the time. So for me, it's really just a family experience. And I know that when I'm walking into work, my family's proud of me. They know where I am. I'm hosting a National Hockey League game tonight. Like that's a pretty cool thing to be able to check off on the box. And the Golden Knights opened up a gazillion doors for me. Like you said, the Raiders came to a game, Top Rank Boxing, ESPN came to a game and said, hey, we need that kid to come and work for us. And I'm just blessed, honored, humbled that these organizations have entrusted me to represent their brands.
Yeah, and in that type of job, there seems to be a lot of movement. People switching teams, switching cities, in and out. But you're kind of been a staple.
I think it's a testament to home, right? You live in Vegas, you get it. The people here are incredible. The organizations here are amazing. Top Rank is based in Las Vegas, Raiders now here, and the Golden Knights. So I really have no reason to move, and they also allow me to do things like this, like I have the space and the Monday's Dark program. Like I said, man, kid in a candy store.
And you don't
special place.
You don't speak Spanish, do you?
I'm learning.
Because I know we're getting a soccer team.
Yeah, that's okay. I can't take on anymore. I got calls from buddies. They're like, hey, bro, if we get an MLS team or an NBA team, please tell me you're not going to have those jobs too. I said, no, there's only so much that I can do, much time.
And speaking about time, look, let's talk about where we are. Because at some point in time, you made an effort. A decision. You made a decision that I'm going to give back to this community. How did that start?
I think, well, you and I are alike in a sense too, where, we're very blessed to be able to do what we do, the position that we're in. And I think it would be amiss if I didn't give back to the community. And I think that goes to testament to my mom and dad. As a kid, I witnessed things that I thought were normal on the day-to-day that are not necessarily normal. And an example is, we're leaving a restaurant and we got leftovers, and Dad would pull the car over and make sure somebody got our leftovers. And I just assumed that was normal.
Right.
We'd be in a hockey rink, and somebody would get out of line by insulting somebody that may be less fortunate than others, and he would literally take them and throw them out of the hockey arena.
Yeah. Wow.
And I just thought that was normal, and that was my dad.
And he's a dentist.
And he was a dentist. Yeah, so I grew up witnessing my mother and my father taking care of so many people outside of our immediate family.
Standing up for underdogs.
Yes, that's a great way to put it. And going above and beyond. And people ask, why do you do it? And I just, because we can. I feel almost obligated. And so about 3 months after Rock of Ages started, Monday's Dark was born, and the name comes from the fact that Broadway is traditionally dark on Mondays, so it's our only night off of the week. And I would be invited, like you, to all these great events in Vegas, but because I had to do a show every night at 8 o'clock, I would put my costume on, go to the red carpet for whatever it was, take a picture on behalf of the show and the organization, and leave. And I thought there's got to be a better way to give back to the community. So I said to all my buddies doing shows, I said, hey, if I threw a party on Monday night and we gave all the money to charity, would you show up? And that's how it started. And so here we are 8 years later. We've raised about $1.5 million for the community. And to put that into perspective, it doesn't sound like a lot of money, but our show is 90 minutes long and it's only $20. And at the end of 90 minutes, we write a check for $10,000 to a different local charity every other week. So we've written 143 checks for 10 grand, all to different nonprofits. We never repeat. And that shows you how amazing Las Vegas is. There's that many amazing nonprofits here doing the great work.
Are you going to run out of nonprofits?
I don't think so. We have a list of about 300 waiting.
Wow.
Now, mind you, not all of them are probably legit, but I don't see the list until the spring. Our board of directors gets the list of submissions, they review it, and they pick 21 partners a year. You know, your organization was selected, and that's how we met, actually.
The Crohn's and Colitis Foundation of America.
Yep.
I had a daughter who had Crohn's, and contacted Mark about doing an event here.
Boom.
Not a
That's
second
how we met.
hesitation. You did it. Always been thankful. Yeah.
Well, no, you know, it's the right thing to do. You know, we have this opportunity, and we're growing incredibly fast. Even though we've been around for 8 years, you know, we now have our own home. This place is 4.5 years old. We used to operate out of the Hard Rock. They donated a venue for us, but now we have a facility that we call our own. And we're doing, like you said earlier, we're doing 3 to 5 events a week here. Could be a band, a wedding reception, a fashion show, bat mitzvah, concert, you name it. It's in here. And there's always some sort of tie to the community. There's always a little give back in some
we
way.
once did a tribute, like a funeral tribute.
We do.
At one time.
Unfortunately, we do celebrations of life here. That's part of the world we're in. And people call us. And if you're a nonprofit or if it's something like those situations, we make it affordable and easy, because we know how difficult those types of situations
Let's talk
can
about
be.
some of the shows you've done. Because
Sure.
I was here a week ago.
Yep.
Not the first time, but you know, after post-COVID, it's been a little bit hard to get in and out, although I did catch a couple streamings.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about what you're doing with the streaming and the auctions and that type of thing in a minute. But you had a tribute to Motown. I could not get over the quality of the performers here. I mean, you had people doing Smokey Robinson that sounded like Smokey Robinson. You had people doing was Whitney Houston that sounded
Unbelievable.
just as good as Whitney, and the band and the sound. I mean, you could be at a Broadway show here. I mean, look, I mean, it looks. It's inexpensive. It looks inexpensive, but the quality is just overwhelming. I mean, it's fantastic.
I make the joke every time, because I usually go out at the top of the show and welcome everybody if I'm here. And I say, hey, how many people at the space for the first time? And, you know, 50, 60 people will put up their hand. And I make the joke, well, your car might not be here when you leave. You know, we're on Polaris and Harmon, just off the strip. But when we took over this facility, all of our attention went into lighting, sound, and production. Because if I'm going to invite my colleagues from Broadway, Emmy winners, Tony winners, you name it, to take my stage, they better look and sound amazing. And they do. They really do. Because you forget the minute you walk in here where you are, because what's happening on stage is such a high level, you're transported.
Level, for sure. So how do you decide on the entertainment and the themes and the actual musicians?
We have a great team. So Kenny Davidson, who's another local staple
music director. Actually sat next to his parents at your last show.
Yeah, so Kenny's always responsible for getting the musicians together. And we're spoiled. We're a block off the strip, and we have some of the best musicians in the world. I'm going to say, hands down, the world. There's a reason why Celine, Bruno, Michael Bublé, Gwen Stefani, they all come here. And when you look at these huge concerts on stage, not all of those musicians are traveling with them. I'd say 75 to 80% of them are local, hired here. And they're incredible. So on their off night, they do the right thing too. They give back to the community and they hang out with us and jam. I have a team of 3 producers on Monday's Dark with me now who are solely responsible for reaching out and saying, hey, Ed, we're doing a Motown theme. You want to come and sing a song? And they put the lineup together. And then we meet a few days before, we put the order together, and then it all happens on the day of. Monday, they'll come in the afternoon, they get with the band, they spend 20 minutes with the band. They sing the song once or twice, and they take off, and they show up at 8 o'clock and get a couple drink tickets, and we raise some money. And that's it.
And your next tribute show is for Queen.
The next one we're going to do Vegas Veterans Hockey Organization. Great organization. They take veterans, they get them on the ice. You know, just it's perfect for me.
Right.
You know, these guys have served so that we can do what we do. So, you know, I said to the guys, I'm like, come on, what can I do to help you? And they're like, well, you know, we get the guys together, we get them on the ice. There's a mental health component. They get sessions to make sure they're you know, healthy and doing what they need to do. But the hockey is sort of the outlet, and they learn to skate.
Right, yeah.
And a lot of them are great players. And so we're gonna honor those guys, and we're gonna do all of the music of Queen Monday night, and it's gonna be fantastic. But it's always a different charity and a different theme. We're gonna do a Bruno Mars night in the future. We're gonna do a Celine Dion night. And that helps too, because sometimes people come for the show not really knowing about the organization. So they come knowing that, hey, it's $20. It's gonna go to a great cause. We may not know what the cause is, but like you said, the talent and the production is unbelievable.
And at the same time we're doing the shows, you're streaming live all over the world.
Yep.
Right? Parents in Canada.
Parents in Canada.
Watching. And you're auctioning off items, like you do this like silent auction type of thing,
there's a
right?
silent auction element.
So you can be in Canada and you can be bidding on items.
Yep.
Right?
So when the pandemic hit, as a venue, as everybody else, we were forced to close. I hate bringing up my parents all the time, but you know, my proud parents would always say, hey, send us pictures, send us videos from your shows. Right, yeah. So about 2.5, 3 years ago, I said to my tech team, I said, hey, look, I got parents in Canada who want to watch the show. Can you figure out how to live stream the show? Mm-hmm. And so we already had the technology in place when the pandemic hit. So come March 2019 or whatever, 2020 now, when the government said, hey, all venues have to close, I went to Clark County commissioners and I said, look, can I just continue to do my charity events virtual, live stream them? I said, we'll keep everybody socially distant, a team of five crew, sound guy, lighting guy, stage manager, myself, and one other would come in the building with nobody else. We had 5 cameras because we had a commitment. I had 21 charities that I had committed to. And I felt terrible that I was like, I still want to write you a check for $10,000. And I think if we put this thing online for free, we'd still raise $10,000. So we tried one. I'll never forget, it was April. The pandemic just forced everything shut. I got a band in here, masked. It looked weird. We weren't used to it yet. A band is in masks, singers in masks, take it off and wipe off the microphone. We raised $12,000 by people just text to give, you know, texting, watching on social media, watching on the website for free. We didn't charge you to watch. So I said, you know what? We can do this. Let's do it. So every other Monday during the pandemic, we just put out our charity event for free online, and it blew up. We started getting viewers in Brazil, Canada, everywhere.
And we're going to put the website to stream
please.
right here. Right
here.
Here it is, right here.
Yeah, it was right on the bottom of the
Yeah.
screen. So you're watching it just like you're watching the Jerry Lewis telethon. You know, much low-hanging fruit, but we have incredible capabilities in here. And one of the things I'm most proud of since we've opened this building is that we committed to continuing to give in the pandemic when everybody else stopped.
Where do you see this going? I mean, you can stay at the $10,000 number.
I don't know. Sky's the limit, really. You know, there's already been talks about doing this type of project in other cities in the United States. But I'm until the need in Vegas starts to fizzle, I love what we're doing. I love when people can't get a ticket because it's sold out. You know, some people grow too quickly and then they get ahead of themselves and it loses a little bit of something. I love the fact that every other Monday we're packed and we're writing a check for 10 grand and it's $20. So pretty much anybody can come. We give away about 30 to 40 tickets an event to those who can't afford the $20 so they can be in the room with us. And I think what we're doing is just right.
So what happens, Mark, on a Monday night when we have a hockey game, or maybe the Raiders are on Monday Night Football? Where are you?
Fingers crossed. That never happens.
Yeah.
But I'd be here. And I think that the Golden Knights and the Raiders would understand. I also have the ability, we set the schedule for Monday's Dark a year out. So in December, we know January through November's dates for Monday's Dark. And we also kind of have an understanding of where the hockey schedule is going to line up.
Well,
and
you used to. Anyway.
We used to, yeah, and where the Raiders line up. But I think they would understand that my passion is here, my commitment to the community is here.
So what is it like to perform or announce, or whatever the term is, in front of 65,000 people?
It's awesome. It's awesome. And, like people ask, like, did you go to school to become a host? I'm like, no, I'm an actor. I'm a former athlete. And I'm a fan. And I think that's what sort of separates me a little bit from other hosts, is that I come at it as just a genuine, passionate fan of the game. They just happen to hand me a microphone and sometimes put a little makeup on my face. Yeah. I absolutely love it. I still get nervous, but I wouldn't change it for the world. I absolutely love it.
And the job requires a lot of travel now.
Yeah, the top ranked job, especially, it's all over the country. I'm actually heading to Scotland for the first time. We have a fight under the top rank team, Josh Taylor, who's the champion. He's the unified champion. So if you want to take his belts, well, you got to go fight in his backyard. And I got the call from my boss, and they said, hey, you're coming to Scotland.
So do you have to change your accent?
No, man, heck no. I might wear a kilt, though. I might put a kilt on.
My name is Mark Shunock. I'm your in-arena announcer. I got so many things to talk about. I'm all flustered. New York City, are you ready to get loud up in here? Get up on your feet! It's time to go fishing! Gladys Knight, everybody! From the Dropkick Murphys, Ken Casey, give it up for Triple H! I'm with my boy, Frankie Cinta! NASCAR superstar Jimmy Johnson, WBO welterweight champion of the world, Terrence Crawford, Tracy Morgan in the house. Come on, Golden Knight fans! Let's get loud! Oh!
You still have that Canadian accent?
It slips. It slips every now and then, because I'll talk to my mom and dad on the phone, and my wife will run into the room, and she'll be like, "Oh, eh? Oh, eh? A boot."
And you're still singing?
I love to sing. I don't sing as much anymore because I'm a perfectionist, and if I can't learn the words and rehearse and really get it right, I don't want to put it out to public. It's one of the things as a former Broadway guy, is you'd spend 3 to 4 weeks rehearsing the show before anybody saw it. So you're in a really strong, comfortable place before anybody in the public eye would see it. But because now I'm so busy with Top Rank, Golden Knights, Raiders, I have to really commit and put it on my schedule when I'm going to take time out of my day to rehearse and prepare.
What's the best way to get tickets here? You had Google
the
Space,
there's two
or
websites.
Monday's Dark? Or,
so there's thespacelv.com. So thespacelv.com and mondaysdark.com. Okay. Easy.
And if you're not at the Space, if you're not at Monday's Dark, you can catch Mark Shunock over at the Golden Knights games, Las Vegas Raider games, over at Top Rank boxing matches, and anywhere around town where anything is happening. Thanks, Mark.
Awesome, man. Thank you.
You gotta be cool, you gotta be calm, you gotta stick together. All I know